All right, guys, welcome back to a new unit. All right, we are in our blue book. We're going to turn to the page that is labeled Data and Statistics. If you're in my class, it should already be labeled as page 100. If you're not, just go ahead and get there. Data and Statistics. We're going to write a 100 on that. Okay, we're going to go through quickly and label. So label the next page as 102. 104, 106, 108, 110, 112, and then 114. Okay, so those are the odd numbers, the even numbers. And then you can go back and label these if you want the odd numbers. You don't have to, but if you're someone who likes to, then go ahead and do that. Okay. All right, so we are in the data and statistics. If you're wondering where it is, it's kind of towards the back. We are going a little bit out of order because this winter storm pushed us back, and we need to not break up volume in the middle of a unit, so just trust me, okay? We're going to skip volume, which is next, and we're going to go to data and statistics. So again, it's page 100. And then we are actually going to skip populations and samples. We're trying to make up for some lost time. So we're going to start on page 104, which is population inferences. Okay. All right, we are trying to honor y'all's request and try to do a little bit more videos. So we want to see how this is going. And this is a pretty easy topic. It's a lot of review. So we thought this would be a good time to try it. Okay. So a population is just a group of people. It's the whole group, okay? So the population of Ridgeview, the population of Round Rock, the population of Texas, okay? We're looking at a whole group. And then inferences are just educated guesses. EDUC, educated guesses. So we're going to survey a small group of people from a population to compare it to make some educated guesses or some predictions, okay? So it says, once a sample has been collected from a population, an inference about the entire population is made. Just like when there are any kind of elections, they survey a few people who kind of represent a random sample, and then they use that, and they actually do this. They use a proportion, and they make predictions about how it's going to affect the whole town or the whole school or the whole community, okay? These inferences can also be, sorry, someone was at my door, can also be used to compare different populations and make predictions. Okay, so this is what I was talking about, like making predictions. And when we make predictions, we use proportions. Okay, and one of the big things we're going to talk about with proportions is something that we talked about a long time ago, and it's percents. Okay, what percent of the population? And remember, percents, we have our percent bars. We have the whole thing as 100. Okay, when we do proportions, we're always solving for x. There's always going to be an x that we have to solve. Okay. All right. Eastside Middle School conducted a survey of 6th graders to determine which electives they were most likely to participate. So we have Spanish, theater, and art. Now, every single time as we're in this unit, just like in probability, every single time we always need the total. Okay. Sometimes they give it to us. Most of the time they don't. Okay. Every single time we need to find the what? Total. All right. So here, 14, 26, that is going to be a total of 40. Okay, so you always need the total. Okay, and a lot of times that's going to be the first question. How many students were surveyed? 40. And we found that by adding them up. Okay, now what percent of students picked Spanish? Okay, so draw my little percent bar. I know percent's always out of 100. I like to put my percents on the bottom. What percent picked Spanish as their elective? Okay, so I know that this 100 represents the total, and I also know the total is 40. Okay, And then it says Spanish is 14, so that's going to go on top. And I know that X goes on bottom because it says what percent, okay? And if you don't want to draw a little percent bar, you can just do a proportion. That's totally fine because now you have your proportion. You have 14 over X equals 40 over 100. Let's see. I can't get from 14 to 40. I can't get from 40 to 100. But I can simplify by marking off a 10. Okay, I still can't get there. So now I'm just going to use old school algebra. Okay, so now I have 4x equals 14 times 10, which is 1,400. Okay, now again, try to look for those shortcuts, but you're also getting to use calculator. So if you have to use a calculator, go ahead and use a calculator. Okay, so now this is algebra. We have to divide both sides by 4. We have 1,400 divided by 4, which gives me, whoops, what did I do? Oh, I accidentally added a 0. Sorry. This is why you got to be careful, okay? I marked off that 0, so this should be 140 divided by 4, which is 35. So X is 35%, okay? So this unit is just going to involve looking at data and then going back and remembering the things we talked about with proportions and percents, okay? A lot of percents. All right, it says the school estimates there are actually 350 students in 6th grade, so that's my total. Using this sample, how many would you be expected to sign up for art? Okay, so this one's not talking about percent, so I'm not using 100. I like to write words so that I don't get confused. Okay, art over total. Now, you have to pick the numbers from the chart. Okay, so don't put 350 as the total the first time. Okay, you got to look at the chart first. So art was 6, the total was 40. 6 over 40. And then it says there are 350 students, so that is the bottom, and that's X. Okay. Can't get from 6 to 40. Can't get from 40 to 350. I can simplify, and I can make this, let's see, divide by 2, and we get 320. I still can't get there, so again, I'm going to go back and do this algebra. Okay. I told y'all that algebra was never, ever, ever going away, so we got to remember our algebra. Equals 350 times 3. And remember, if I go too fast, pause the video. That's the beauty of videos, is that you can record it, which a lot of you already said that y'all liked the videos because of that reason. Okay, so 350 times 3 is 1,050 equals 20x. Again, my goal in algebra is to get my x alone, so I'm going to divide by 20, divide by 20, and yes, you're using your calculator. Okay, 52.5. It doesn't do you any good to use your calculator if you don't know what numbers to use. So make sure that you're setting up your proportion before you are picking up your calculator, okay? 52.5. Now, a lot of times they want you to round. So this 5 tells me to up the score. So it's actually going to be 53 students, okay? So always look to see if they want you to round if you don't see your exact answer. All right. The school estimates there are actually 350 students. Using this sample, how many picked theater? So this one's very similar to the one above it. This time we're doing theater over total. The words really do help you to make sure that you're plugging in the right numbers. So theater is 20. Again, my total is 40. Hopefully in your head you're thinking, wow, 20 over 40 simplifies to, you got it, 1/2. But let's go ahead and finish writing our proportion before we do that. Okay, 350 is my other number, and that's the total. Okay, on probability, when we did proportions, a lot of people thought they needed to simplify, but if you write your x, you will know you're not simplifying because you're still trying to solve for x. Okay, so now I know a shortcut because hopefully you knew 20 over 40 was 1/2. So I know that this is times 2. So I know the opposite is divide by 2. So then 350 divided by 2 is 175 students picking art theater. Okay, so again, there's nothing new except for we're looking at a table instead of just a word problem. Okay, that's all this is looking at a population, looking at a survey, looking at some data, and making educated guesses about what might happen. Okay. All right, it says the school decides to drop any elective if less than 10% of the population have signed up for it. Miguel says that because only 6 people are in art, it should be dropped. Okay, because obviously 6 is less than 10, but this is not the number 10, this is 10%. Okay, so we need to figure out what percent of people actually picked art. Okay, and we already did that. Nope, we didn't. Okay, sorry. So art, we looked at art, but we didn't do percent. Okay, so 6 people picked art. And remember, I want percents to go on bottom. Anytime I'm seeing the word percent's going on bottom, it's going to be 100. Okay. Now it says, Miguel says 6 people signed up for art. Okay. And I know that the total number of students was 40. Okay. And this is going to be X. So I want to know what percent actually signed up for art. Okay. Simplify those guys. I can simplify again by 2. So that becomes 2. That becomes 5. And now I see a shortcut. So 6 times 3. And again, if you don't like the shortcuts, you can just do cross multiply and divide, because that is going to work every single time. But it is empowering, and it helps your brain if you do the math when it's possible. Okay, so 15%. So is this class actually less than 10%? That is correct. Miguel is wrong. Okay, Miguel just saw the 6 and he thought it was 6 is less than 10, but it has to be a percent. This is a percent. This is not. Okay, so you have to figure out of how many people. Okay. All right, we'll do some true false. Over half of the students will pick theater. Okay, well, theater was 20, and the total was 40, and 20 over 40 equals 1/2. So this question says over half. So what do y'all think? True or false? That is false. It's exactly half. Okay, it's not over half. So that one word completely changed it. Okay. All right, the next one. Combined, Spanish and art account for 50%. Spanish is 14. Art is 6. That is 20. And 20 out of 40 is 1/2. Okay, so it says combined, these equal 50%. Is 1/2 50%? Yes, so this one is true. Okay. All right, out of 350 students, at least 120 will sign up for Spanish. Okay, so out of, remember a long time ago when we did proportions, we said out of means total. Out of means total. Okay, so the total is 350. And I want to know if it's 120, you're going to pick Spanish. So Spanish was 14 out of 40. Again, my first fraction is coming from the data. Okay, this first fraction always comes from your data or from your first sentence. Okay. All right, let's see. 14, 350. Oh, I don't see a shortcut, but I can divide by 7s. Nope. I can divide by 2s. Yeah, sorry, 2s. So that's 7. And that's 20. Still don't know a shortcut, so I'm going to do this. 20x equals 7 times 350. You see, sometimes simplifying doesn't work, but at least it's easier, friendlier numbers. Okay, so now 350 times 7 is 2450. And this is 20x. Again, I'm still trying to get x by itself. So what do I do to both sides? You got it. Divide. Divide by 20. Divide by 20. And then 2450 divided by 20 is 122.5. Okay, so 122.5 people sign up for Spanish, and this says at least 120. So is 122 greater than or equal to 120? Yes, so this one's true. Okay, I'll give you a second. Again, if you need to stop, pause it. Go back, rewind, listen to what I said. You want to make sure that you have good notes. Trust me, trust me, trust me. For your homework today, you want to make sure you have notes written down. You will see why when you get to your assignment. All right, next page. Bar graphs. We're going to talk more about bar graphs separately next week. But we're just making inferences, so we're not going to get too deep into a bar graph, okay? So this is called a double bar graph because it's comparing two things, okay? It's comparing men and women, okay? Every single time I have a bar graph, I like to write the numbers on top so that there's no question. I don't have to go back. I always write the numbers on top, okay? So in your notes, let's look at our comedy. Comedy for men is 24. Okay, comedy for women is, oh, that's a little bit over, so that's going to be 16. Drama for men is going to be 11. What's the drama for women? Hopefully you said 27. All right, last one. Action for men is 15, and action for women is 7. Okay. And then I like to usually add because they're giving men and they're giving women. So let's add the men. 24 plus 17 plus 5. Oops. Plus 17 plus 5 is 46 men. And then the woman is 16 plus 27 plus 7, which is 50. I think I added the men wrong. Let's see. 24. Yep, I did. 24 plus 11 plus 15 is 50 also. Whenever you get a number that's weird, usually you're like, I need to check my math. Okay. So they both add to 50. So the total people is 100. All right. It says a video company randomly selects men and women and asks them about the type of movies they prefer. Use the questions to answer it. Okay. All right. The first question, guess what? It said how many total surveys were surveyed? Subscribers, sorry. The answer was 100. Okay. Sometimes they ask you that. Sometimes they don't. I like to just be in the habit of doing it because it helps me to know what I'm working with. Okay. 100 is the first one. All right. The next one says what percent? I know percent is always out of 100, so I'm going to be using 100. Okay. What percent pick drama as their favorite? Okay. So drama. Drama is going to include all of these. So it's going to be 11 and 27 is all the people who pick drama. It doesn't say men or women. So it's 38. Okay. It's 38 out of 100. So if it's already out of 100, I don't really need to write the extra 100 because I already know that percent's out of 100. So it's 38%. Okay. If you didn't know that, go ahead and write your proportion because I would rather you be safe than sorry. Okay. All right. Next one. The video company estimates there are actually 2,000 women subscribers. Using the sample, how many would watch action? Okay, so again, it says I'm making a prediction, I'm estimating. So first, I need to look at my table. Okay, how many women, let's see, how many women watch action? Women, 7. Okay, and then we're only talking about women. So how many women were there? 50. So 7 over 50 is women and women watching action. Okay. There are 2,000 women, so that's the total. And I want to know how many are watching action, so that's going to be an X. Okay. Hopefully you see a shortcut from 50 to 2,000. Okay. If you don't, then you can always do old school algebra. Okay. You can simplify to make your life a little bit easier, but this is times 40. Okay, so the top is also times 40. 7 times 40 is 280. So 280 women actually watch Action. Okay. All right, our next one is talking about percent. What percent of subscribers, so it doesn't say men or women, who enjoy comedies, there we go, are women. Okay, so first of all, how many people enjoy comedy? It's 24, plus 16. So comedy, there are 40 people. Okay, and it wants to know what percent are women. Well, how many of the comedy people are women? 16. So 16 over 40. Okay. Now my other numbers, I don't see any other numbers, but because I see percent, I know that means out of 100. So I know that 100 is the total. Okay. If you want to do a percent bar, your numbers would be switched. That's totally okay. All right. Now I don't see a shortcut, but I know I can simplify. These guys both divide by 4. So that becomes 4 over 10. And now I see a shortcut. Times 10 times 10. So my answer is 40%. Okay, so again, if you want a percent bar, that's fine. If you want to just do a proportion, that's fine. You're going to get the same answer. Your proportion might just look a little different if you used a percent bar, okay? All right, now we're doing a couple true false. More men were surveyed than women. Well, how many women were there? 50. How many men? 50. So were there more men? No, they were actually the same amount. Okay. Women like drama more than comedies and action combined. Okay, so let's look at women. Women in drama is 27. Okay, and then it says comedy and action combined. So comedy is 16, action is 7. 16 plus 7 is 23. So it's saying 27 is greater than 23. What do y'all think? Yes. Ever since I've been teaching, that's been a true statement. Okay, 27 is greater than 23. All right, finally, half of the men choose action. Oops, sorry. Half as many men choose action as comedy. So men action is 15. Men comedy is 24. Is 15 half of 24? No. Okay, these are the types of questions that you will be asked on your practice today, and you'll be asked later on your test. We're just making inferences, looking at numbers, looking at data. Okay, last question. The school counselor randomly selects a group of students at Ford Junior High survey about how they get home based on this information, which is not. Okay, not. Make sure you look for that word. Before I read any of these questions, every single time I like to write my numbers on top. Okay, so let's see. The darker one is 7th grade. So my bus riders for 7th grade is 10. My bus riders for 8th grade is 15. My car riders for 7th grade is what? You got it, 12. And then for 8th grade is 7. And then my walkers are both 3. Okay? So then I want to know. My 7th graders, 10 plus 12 plus 3. So that is 25. My 8th graders, 15 plus 7 plus 3. That's 10, 25. Okay, so there's 25 in each grade, which means there's 50 total. Okay? The first one says a total of 50 students were surveyed. That is true. I'm going to circle my answer and stop. Oh, wait, Miss Davis, what did you just remember? The word not. So this one is true, but it's not the answer. Okay? 60%. I'm going to come back to this one because I don't like doing percent questions. Okay? The number of car riders and walkers. Let's go back and do this one just for practice because I don't want to. We need to practice them all. Okay? Sorry. 60% of 8th grade ride the bus home. Okay? How many people ride the bus home? I'm going to come down here so I have room. The bus for, let's see, 8th grade is the lighter one. It's 15. And then the total for 8th graders is 25. I want to know if that is 60%. So I want to know what percent that is. Okay, I put 100 because I know that percent is always out of 100. Okay, so this is 4, which is 60%. So that one is actually still true. Okay, next one, the number of car riders and walkers in 8th grade is equal to the number of car riders in 7th grade. So this one says and, which means I have to add. Okay, so we're looking at 8th grade, car riders and walkers. 8th grade, car riders 7, walkers 3. And then car riders 7th grade is 12. So 7 plus 3 equals 12. What do y'all think? Probably not. I'm going to put a question mark. Okay, and D, exactly half of the students surveyed rode the bus. Okay, so it doesn't say 7th or 8th grade, so I had all of these. Okay, 10 plus 15 is 25. And I know that the total was 50. So 25 over 50 is 1/2. So that one is true. That means my answer, the one that was false, is actually C. Okay? These are not difficult problems. You just have to remember to take your time. Make sure you find the total every time. If you get a number that's not like 40 or 50 or 60 or something, you probably added wrong and you need to go back and double check. Okay? 25, they're going to be like numbers that are a little bit easier to work with as your totals. Always go back and double check that. If it says percent, what number are you always going to put on there? 100. Yes. Okay. Make sure you read the questions carefully. Don't overthink it. Make sure that you remember what half means. A lot of these questions are going to be true, false. Or using our proportions. Your answers can be decimals. That's totally fine. Okay. You're going to have an assignment in Schoology to work on now. All right. You do want to make sure that you have all these notes written down. You'll see why in just a few minutes. Okay.